The screen is dark. All you hear is the rhythmic, hollow tapping of a finger against a glass screen. It's 2:14 a.m. The blue light of your phone is the only thing illuminating the sweat on your forehead. You've typed it out 3 paragraphs of logic, of hurt, of why are you doing this? Your thumb is hovering over the send button. Your heart is hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird. You think this message will fix it. You think if she just understands your perspective, the coldness will thaw. Stop. Take your thumb off the screen. If you hit send, you aren't just sending a message, you're sending a white flag. You are announcing to the void that she owns your peace of mind. You are proving that she can flip a switch in her mind and cause a blackout in yours. There is a version of you that doesn't feel that heart-hammering anxiety, a version of you that saw her pull away and simply went back to sleep. A version that doesn't need to explain his worth because he knows that the moment you have to justify your value, you've already lost it. That version of you isn't a myth. He's the man we are building right now. But to find him, you have to be willing to murder the part of you that craves her validation. Before we go a single step further, I need you to do something. If you're ready to stop being a passenger in your own emotional life, hit that subscribe button and drop a "I am untouchable" in the comments. It's not for me, it's a signal to your own brain that the old rules are dead. Let's look at the crime scene. You've been taught that communication is key. You've been told that being vulnerable is the ultimate sign of strength. And because you believe that, you've spent months, maybe years, leaking your power like a cracked battery. Every time she went cold and you asked, "What's wrong?" you leaked. Every time she posted a photo to bait a reaction and you gave it to her, you leaked. Every time you stayed up mentally rehearsing an argument that would finally make her see, you surrendered your sovereignty to a ghost. You aren't fighting a person, you're fighting a biological feedback loop. Society wants you responsive, it wants you predictable. A predictable man is a manageable man, but a man who does not react, a man who looks at a deliberate provocation and offers nothing but a calm, steady gaze, that man is a glitch in the system. He is a psychological noir protagonist in a world of colourful, loud, desperate actors. Think about the last time you felt small in a conversation with her. Maybe it was a subtle dig at your career. Maybe it was her mentioning another man's name just to see your jaw tighten. In that moment, she wasn't looking for information, she was looking for a map. She wanted to see where your soft spots were. And the second you defended yourself, the second you said, "That's not fair," or "I've been working hard," you handed her the keys to the castle. You showed her exactly where to strike next time she needs an emotional hit. This is the leak. It's the invisible hole in your bucket where your masculine authority drains out. Most men think they need to win the argument to get their power back. They think if they can just land one devastating verbal blow, she'll respect them again. They couldn't be more wrong. You don't get your power back by winning the fight. You get it back by refusing to step into the arena in the first place. Imagine the absolute vertigo she feels when she throws a verbal punch and hits nothing but air. No anger, no defensiveness, no check-in text the next day. Just a vacuum where your ego used to be. That silence is more terrifying than any shout. It forces her to sit in the echoes of her own behaviour. We are moving into a territory where your words are expensive and your silence is a luxury. We are going to install the internal architecture that makes you genuinely unshakable. But first, you have to accept a brutal reality. Your kindness was actually a cover for your fear of being disliked. Are you willing to be the bad guy in her story if it means being the hero in yours? Because the moment you stop explaining, you become an enigma. And you can't control an enigma. The blue light on your phone is still there. The message is still typed. But your thumb is moving away from the send button. You're starting to realize that the most powerful thing you can say right now is absolutely nothing. But silence is just the beginning. To truly become untouchable, you have to understand the secret currency of the human mind, and most men are spending it like they're already bankrupt. If you think silence is just playing games, you're missing the point. It's not a game, it's a standard. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why your attention is the only thing she actually wants, and why you've been giving it away for free. The silence in that room is no longer heavy, it's becoming your armor. You've deleted the text. The cursor is blinking on a blank field, and for the first time in months, the air in your lungs feels steady, but walking away from the screen is only the first layer of the fortress. Now, we have to talk about the currency you've been printing and handing out like flyer transitions on a busy street corner. Most men think their most valuable asset is their time. They're wrong. You can give someone 20 years of your life and still be a stranger to them. Your most valuable asset, the only thing she, the world, and your enemies actually want, is your attention. Think about it. Why does she post that specific story when she knows you're online? Why does she drop a vague, emotional bait at 11 p.m? She isn't looking for a conversation. She's looking for a ping on the radar. She's checking to see if she still owns a piece of your mental real estate. When you respond, you aren't being polite. You are paying a tax. You are telling her that her whims, her moods, and her games are worth the focused energy of a grown man. And because you've been paying that tax so consistently, the value of your attention has plummeted. You've become an infinite resource. And as any economist or any predator will tell you, when something is infinite, its price drops to zero. Stop being a penny investor. You've been throwing your focus at every minor drama, every cold shoulder, and every maybe she throws your way. You are treating your life's energy like loose change you found under a couch cushion. From this second forward, your attention is a high-yield, exclusive investment. If a situation doesn't offer a return of respect, growth, or absolute peace, the investment is withdrawn. No explanation. No, I'm doing this because you did that. Just the sudden, cold vacuum of your focus moving elsewhere. Imagine the shift in the atmosphere when she realizes the subscribed button on your attention has been toggled off. She'll try to trigger the old you. She'll double down on the coldness or ramp up the provocation. Most men break here. They think, if I don't respond now, I'll lose her forever. Let that fear wash over you and then watch it dissolve. You cannot lose what you do not possess, and you certainly cannot possess someone who doesn't respect the ground you walk on. By withdrawing your attention, you aren't losing her. You are finally finding yourself. You are reclaiming the light that you've been shining on her and turning the spotlight back onto your own path, your own mission, and your own skin. Have you ever noticed how the most magnetic people in a room are the ones who aren't scanning the crowd for approval? They are the ones whose focus is internal. They are invested in their own reality. When you stop reacting to her, you start radiating a different kind of frequency. You become a gravitational pull. But here is where it gets dangerous for the unprepared. Silence is a power move, but if you're using it as a tactic to get her back, you've already lost. If you're sitting there counting the minutes until she texts, you aren't being silent, you're just waiting. And waiting is a form of reaction. It's a loud, desperate scream disguised as a pause. True strategic indifference means you genuinely do not care if the phone lights up or stays dark. It means your happiness has been decoupled from her validation. You've moved the remote control of your emotions from her hand back to yours. Before we move into the next law, the one that will teach you how to handle the inevitable test that comes after you go silent, I want you to take a second. Look at your hands. They belong to you. Your mind? It belongs to you. If you've ever felt like you were losing your mind over someone who wasn't even thinking about you, type, "I am the prize," in the comments. Let the community know you've stopped the leak. The world rewards the man who can stand still while everyone else is running. But to stand still, you have to kill the fixer inside you. You have to stop believing that you can talk your way into someone's heart. You can't negotiate desire. You can't argue someone into respecting you. Respect is a byproduct of your perceived value, and value is a byproduct of scarcity. You've been too available, too understood, too there. Now, it's time to become a ghost, not out of malice, but out of necessity, because a man who is everywhere is nowhere. But a man who could be anywhere, yet chooses to be exactly where he is undisturbed and unbothered, is a man who has mastered the art of winning without moving a single muscle. The silence is stretching now. It's been 3 hours, maybe 3 days. She's starting to feel the vertigo. She's wondering where you went. And in that space, in that hollow silence you've created, something remarkable is beginning to grow. Your sovereignty. But be warned, the louder the silence gets, the harder she will try to break it. Are you ready for the final test? Because most men fail right before the breakthrough. The final test isn't a conversation. It's a siege. It's the moment she realizes her usual toolkit, the soft launch stories, the "I left something at your place" text, the sudden middle of the night "I miss you" that smells like a trap isn't working. Most men have a breaking point. They hold out for 48 hours, feeling like a lion, and then on the third day, they collapse into a paragraph of, "I've been thinking too." Don't be that man, because the moment you break that silence to explain why you were silent, you've retroactively turned your strength into a tantrum. You've told her, "I was just pretending to be strong so you'd notice me," and nothing kills attraction faster than a man who is performing strength for an audience. Real strength doesn't need a witness. Think about the psychological vertigo we discussed. When she reaches out with a low-effort hook and you offer a polite, one-word answer, or better yet, nothing at all, you are creating a vacuum. The human brain hates a vacuum. It demands closure. Because you aren't giving her the scripted fight she's used to, she has to fill that silence with her own thoughts. And in that silence, she starts to realize that you are no longer a character in her story. You've started your own book, and she doesn't have a speaking part. This is the death of the petitioner. A petitioner is someone who begs the court for a favor. Please understand me. Please see how hard I'm trying. Please love me back. From this moment on, you are the court. You do not explain the verdict. You simply deliver it through your actions. If she treats you with coldness, the verdict is your absence. If she treats you with disrespect, the verdict is the permanent revocation of your attention. Look at your life right now. How much of your daily mental energy is spent litigating your relationship in your head? How many imaginary arguments have you won while standing in the shower? That is energy you are stealing from your career, your fitness, and your future. You are bankrupting your potential to pay for a woman's drama. Stop. Every time you feel that itch to check her social media or explain your side of the story, I want you to do 10 push-ups or read 5 pages of a difficult book. Redirect that reaction energy into building energy. If you're committed to building a life that is bigger than any one person's opinion of you, hit the like button right now. It tells the algorithm and your subconscious that you value growth over gossip. We are moving into the law of scarcity. Why is gold expensive? Because you can't find it on every street corner. Why is your time currently cheap? Because you've made it available to people who haven't earned it. You've been a 24/7 convenience store for her emotions. It's time to become a private vault. Becoming a vault means you don't leak information. You don't tell your mutual friends how well you're doing just so it gets back to her. You don't post revenge photos of you at the gym. That is still reacting. That is still shouting. Look at me, I'm totally over you. True indifference is invisible. It's the man who genuinely disappears into his work and his passions, because he actually times his times doing well, not because he wants her to think he is. There is a massive difference between no contact as a tactic and no contact as a lifestyle. One is a cage, the other is a key. As you pull back, you will feel a strange sensation, peace. It might feel like boredom at first, because you're so used to the highs and lows of the toxic cycle. But that boredom is actually the sound of your nervous system healing. It's the sound of your internal architecture settling into place. But there's a final level to this noir journey. It's the clean cut. It's the realization that some people aren't just testing you, they are the void. They are people who will eat your soul and ask for seconds. And no amount of silence will ever fix them. Do you know how to tell the difference between a woman who is testing your strength and a woman who is draining your life? If you don't know the difference, you're still in danger. Because the untouchable man doesn't just ignore the noise. He knows when to walk out of the room and lock the door behind him, forever. The next law is the most ruthless. It's about the art of the permanent absence. Because sometimes, the only way to win the game is to realize the board is rotten and stop playing entirely. Are you ready to find out if she's worth the silence or if she's worth the erase? Drop a comment below. Silence or erase? Tell me which one you're facing right now. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to execute a departure so clean, it leaves no scar except on the person who thought they could keep you forever. The erase isn't an act of anger. Anger is a hot emotion. It's a form of engagement. When you're angry, you're still tethered to her. You're still showing her that she has the power to move your needle. No, the clean cut is cold. It is clinical. It is the realization that some people aren't just tests. They are black holes. They don't want to grow with you. They want to consume the light you've worked so hard to build. Most men wait until they are broken to leave. They wait until the bank account is dry, the reputation is tarnished, and the self-respect is a memory. Don't be that man. The untouchable man recognizes the scent of the void early. It's the constant crisis that only you can solve. It's the subtle way she makes you feel guilty for having a goal that doesn't involve her. It's the way she accidentally disrespects you in front of others and then calls you sensitive when you call it out. These aren't mistakes, they are maneuvers. And if you're still trying to explain your boundaries to someone who is intentionally stepping over them, you're trying to teach a shark not to bite. It's in their nature. Your only move isn't to talk, it's to leave the water. The clean cut is the most sophisticated move in the Noir playbook. It involves no dramatic final talk. There is no, "we need to go our separate ways," speech that she can record or twist to make you look like the villain. You simply stop. You stop the check-ins, you stop the likes, you stop the physical presence. You become a ghost in her machine. Think about the psychological impact of a clean cut. When a relationship ends with a fight, there is closure. There is a reason. But when it ends with a sudden, calm absence, it leaves the other person in a state of permanent, unfinished business. They have to sit with the why for the rest of their lives. And because you provided no data, no map, and no explanation, they are forced to look inward. For the first time, she has to face the vacuum she created. But here is the catch. You can't do this for the effect. If you're ghosting to get a reaction, you're still the petitioner. You're just a petitioner who's holding his breath. The clean cut only works if you genuinely, deep in your marrow, decide that she no longer deserves the luxury of your presence. Before we move into the final integration, the God mode state where you become a gravitational force, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever stayed in a situation 6 months too long just because you didn't want to be the bad guy? If that's you, type "no more leaks" in the comments. Let's see how many of us have been paying that nice guy tax. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's a duty. You have a mission. You have a purpose that exists outside of any woman's validation. When you allow a void to occupy space in your life, you are literally stealing from your future self. You are taking the focus you should be using to build your empire and giving it to someone who is just using it to pass the time. The untouchable man understands that his life is a private club. Not everyone gets a membership, and the members' agreement is simple: respect, peace, and growth. If the dues aren't paid, the membership is revoked. No appeals, no second chances. This brings us to the internal architecture. Why can some men walk away so easily while others crawl back begging? It's not because the first group is cold, it's because they've built a world so rich, so disciplined, and so fulfilling that they don't need any specific person to be in it. They have emotional sovereignty. They are the governors of their own internal state. If a woman is in their life, she is a value add, not a survival requirement. When you reach this state, your silence isn't a tactic anymore, it's just your natural environment. You don't react because there is nothing she can say that is more important than the peace you've built within yourself. You're starting to feel it now, aren't you? That shift in your chest. The phone on the table is just a piece of plastic and glass. The notifications are just pixels. They don't have a grip on you anymore. You've moved from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. But there is one final test. It's the most dangerous one. It's the homecoming. It's what happens when you've finally found your peace, and suddenly, she senses it. Because she times will times sense it, and she will come back with the one thing you aren't prepared for. Do you know what the ultimate trap is? It's not anger. It's not even sex. It's the version of her that you first fell in love with, showing up at your door when you're at your strongest. Are you ready to face the ghost of the past without flinching? The final chapter is about to begin. It's time to become the invisible man. The man who wins the war by realizing he's already moved to a different continent. If you're ready for the final piece of the puzzle, stay with me. We're almost home. The silence in that room is no longer heavy. It is becoming your armor. You have deleted the text. The cursor is blinking on a blank field, and for the first time in months, the air in your lungs feels steady. But walking away from the screen is only the first layer of the fortress. Now, we have to talk about the hardest truth you will ever swallow. She doesn't miss you. She misses the utility of you. She misses the way you validated her ego, the way you were always there to catch her when she stumbled, and the way your predictable reactions gave her a sense of control. When you execute this level of indifference, you aren't just leaving a person, you are withdrawing a service. You are shutting down a power plant that she thought was free. Most men fail this phase because they treat it like a negotiation. They send a final text explaining why they're leaving. They give one last chance. They check in a month later just to see if she's learned her lesson. Stop. The moment you check in, you've handed her back the remote. You've signaled that your absence was a performance, a tactic designed to get a result. This stage is different. It is the absolute, unshakable decision that she no longer exists in your mental architecture. It is a digital and emotional scorched earth policy. You don't block her to be petty, you block her because her name on your screen is a distraction from your mission. You don't avoid the places she goes because you're afraid, you avoid them because you have better places to be. Think about the adversary filter. In your life, there are people who are assets and people who are liabilities. A liability is someone who costs more energy than they provide. They are the chronic critics and the energy drains we talked about. They are the individuals who treat your boundaries like suggestions. When you identify a liability, you don't argue with it. You don't try to reform it, you erase it. Why? Because your life's energy is a zero-sum game. Every minute you spend processing, her drama is a minute you aren't spending on the untouchable version of yourself. You are literally stealing from the man you could become to pay for the person who doesn't care if you get there. If you've ever looked back and realized you wasted a year on someone who was just a void, type "time is my wealth" in the comments. Let's see who is ready to stop the theft. This clean cut is the most masculine thing you can do because it is an act of absolute certainty. A man who is certain doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need to prove he's moving on. He just moves. When she sees that your subscribe button is gone permanently, she experiences a specific kind of panic. It's the panic of a person who realized they pushed a quiet man too far. They say, "Beware the fury of a patient man," but I tell you, beware the silence of a decisive man. Because once a decisive man decides you are no longer part of his reality, there is no amount of tears, I've changed texts, or late-night calls that can bring him back. He has moved to a different frequency. But here is the catch. Most men think they've achieved this when they stop texting, but then they see her with someone else, or they hear a song that reminds them of her. And suddenly, the fortress they built turns out to be made of cardboard. They realize they weren't untouchable, they were just hiding. To truly succeed, you have to replace the space she occupied with something heavier, something more permanent. You need a purpose that makes her feel like a footnote in a 500-page book. You need a mission so demanding that you literally don't have the bandwidth to remember her birthday. We are moving into the final stage, the invisible man. This is where we stop talking about her entirely. This is where we talk about the state of internal sovereignty. This is where your presence becomes so magnetic that you don't have to ignore anyone anymore, because you are so focused on your path that everything else is just background noise. Are you ready to stop being a reaction and start being the action? Because the last law isn't about her at all. It's about the terrifying, beautiful reality of what happens when a man finally, truly, doesn't give a damn about anyone's opinion but his own. The final integration is coming. It's the piece of the puzzle that turns no contact into infinite power. Don't blink. We're about to cross the finish line. The transition is complete. You have moved from the frantic energy of the reactive man to the heavy gravitational stillness of the invisible man. This is the highest level of psychological sovereignty. At this stage, you aren't ignoring her to get a result. You're ignoring her because she has become irrelevant to the primary mission of your life. Most men spend their lives as reactionary actors. They wait for a woman to smile to feel happy. They wait for a boss to praise them to feel competent. They wait for a critic to move before they decide their next step. They are passengers in a vehicle driven by everyone else's whims, but the invisible man has stepped out of that car entirely. He has realized that the only person whose permission he needs to exist, to succeed, and to be at peace is the man staring back at him in the mirror at 5 a.m. This is the secret to magnetic stillness. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop proving, you start being. The world is a mirror. If you approach it with a hand outstretched, begging for a scrap of validation, it will show you a beggar. If you approach it with a back turned, focused on your own horizon, it will begin to follow you. Here is my direct advice for you, the man listening to this right now. Build a life that is so demanding, so fulfilling, and so massive that a woman's presence is a luxury. not a structural requirement. If her leaving causes your entire world to collapse, your world was built on sand. You need to build on stone. Go to the gym until your body is a physical manifestation of your discipline. Master a skill until you are the only person in the room who can do what you do. Curate a circle of brothers who hold you to a standard of excellence, not a standard of comfort. When you do these things, ignoring her isn't a tactic you have to remember to use. It becomes your default setting. You simply don't have the time to entertain the low-level noise of someone who doesn't respect your time. The untouchable version of you is standing just on the other side of your next no. No to the late-night text. No to the toxic argument. No to the urge to explain yourself. You are the prize. Not because of what you can do for her, but because of who you are becoming for yourself. The moment you truly believe that, she will feel it. The world will feel it. And the people who once thought they could manipulate your emotions will find themselves knocking on a door that has been permanently sealed. If this message hit home, if you feel that internal architecture finally clicking into place, I want you to do two things. First, hit that like button to help this signal reach more men who are currently drowning in the noise. Second, I want you to comment sovereignty below. It is a one-word contract with yourself. It means you are the ruler of your own mind, your own heart, and your own future. Don't let the world talk you off your path. Don't let a temporary feeling destroy a permanent mission. You've stopped the leaks. You've closed the loops. Now, go out there and be the man who doesn't need to say a word to be the most powerful person in the room. Stay silent, stay selective, stay untouchable,